Hello, my dear listeners, and welcome to a new episode of English Plus, your favorite podcast to learn vocabulary in context, and this is exactly what today's episode is all about. In our new Vocabulary Voyages episode, we're going to enjoy a captivating journey into the heart of consciousness. We're going to explore its essence through the mystical lens of Awarelia, which is a fictional place, of course. But anyway, this episode is a treasure trove for anyone looking to enrich their vocabulary and deepen their understanding of complex concepts in an engaging context. We'll dive into stories that weave the intricacies of consciousness with the beauty of language, guided by keywords that unlock new realms of comprehension and appreciation. Whether you're a language learner, a seeker of enlightenment, or someone who cherishes the symphony of words, this episode is your gateway to a richer, more meaningful understanding of both language and life. Let's discover how consciousness can be nurtured, transcended, and resonated through the art of storytelling with me, your host, Danny, on English Plus Podcast. Now, before I start the story itself about consciousness and the mystical lands of Awarelia, let me tell you that this story and the entire content of this episode, Vocabulary Voyages, comes from my book with the same name, Vocabulary Voyages. But of course, you don't need to have the book to enjoy the content of this episode. I'm going to include everything you need in this episode. But for those of you who would like to get the book for free, you can go to my website, EnglishPlusPodcast.com. On the homepage, you can subscribe to my mailing list, and by doing that, you will receive a free PDF version of the book if you want to enjoy reading and listening at the same time. But anyway, let's not waste any more time and let's jump right into the content of today's episode. We're going to start talking about the land, or the mystical land, of Awarelia and consciousness. In the mystical lands of Awarelia, where the winds whispered wisdom and the rivers sang songs of insight, consciousness was not merely a concept, but the very essence of life. The people of Awarelia understood that consciousness was more than just being awake. It was the state of being aware of one's thoughts and surroundings. There was a tree in Awarelia known as the Tree of Consciousness. Its leaves shimmered with understanding, and its branches reached out like arms embracing the world. People would come from far and wide to meditate beneath its shade, seeking to connect with their inner selves and understand the intricacies of their minds. Beneath this tree, we find the stories that weave the threads of consciousness. In the soft shadows, there sat a poet named Lysander, whose words danced with the very essence of thought and emotion. His consciousness transcended the mere existence of words, enabling him to touch the hearts and minds of others. Through his poems, Lysander illustrated that consciousness was a journey inward, a path to understanding oneself and the world. Close by, a mother named Seraphina taught her young daughter about the birds and the flowers, instilling in her a conscious awareness of nature's beauty and fragility. They would watch butterflies glide and listen to the laughter of the brook, all the while growing a bond nurtured by shared awareness and appreciation. Through Seraphina's guidance, consciousness became a connection to the world around them, an acknowledgement of life's delicate balance. A musician named Orion found consciousness in the melodies he played. His violin sang not just notes, but emotions, resonating with the consciousness of those who listened. His music was a symphony, a harmony that brought people together in shared understanding. To Orion, consciousness was a symphony, a harmony that brought people together in shared understanding. The sage wise old Alaric often visited the tree of consciousness. He understood that consciousness was the key to growth, enlightenment, and empathy. He would share his insights with anyone willing to listen, teaching that consciousness was not a solitary experience, but a shared understanding. It was about being present, being open to others' perspectives, and learning from every experience. As the sun dipped beneath the horizon and the tree of consciousness bathed in the soft glow of twilight, the stories continued to weave. The lessons continued to resonate and the understanding continued to grow. And you, who sit with these words, take a moment to reflect on your consciousness. It's more than just a state of being. It's a connection to yourself and the world around you. It's the awareness that helps you grow, learn, empathize, and appreciate the beauty of existence. Embrace your consciousness, explore its depths, and let it guide you. Be present in your thoughts, your actions, and your interactions. Remember, consciousness is not a destination, but a continuous journey, a path that leads to a richer, more meaningful life. That's the magic of consciousness, and it's yours to explore, understand, and cherish. Let it be your guide, your companion, your connection to the world and yourself. In embracing consciousness, you embrace life itself. All right, my friends, I hope you enjoyed the story about consciousness and Awarelia and all those characters that shared this journey of consciousness with us. But now it's time for our vocabulary in context. I'm going to give you, this time I'm going to change a little bit. Last time and the time before when I started this series, Vocabulary Voyages, I just started with unlock the meaning, but I got some feedback that, some of you found it difficult to get the words, especially if you don't have the text. So I thought that I would give you the list of keywords that we're going to talk about today, and then we're going to have those unlock the meaning moments with our riddles and our clues, etc., so that you can guess it again, but with the list at hand. So let me tell you about the list of keywords that we're going to extract from our text and talk about in context. Of course, the words are consciousness, mystical, essence, intricacies, enlightenment, symphony, empathy, fragility, nurtured, resonate, weave, transcend, acknowledge, horizon, and appreciation. Let me tell you a little bit more about these words, and then we're going to move on to our Unlock the Meaning section. But before we do that, let me tell you that I also changed something else. In the previous 2 Vocabulary Voyages episodes, I added the word VIP section where I concentrated on a couple of words, or actually they would be 5 or 6 words, and I talked about them in depth. Well, I'm not going to include that in today's episode, and I'm not going to include that in Vocabulary Voyages anymore, because starting from this week, we're bringing back the word power episodes, and we have a new word power episode where we focus on one word every day, one beautiful word every day, and you're going to find that in the podcast as well. So there's a lot to learn and a lot of useful episodes on English Plus Podcast. Just make sure you follow the podcast so you don't miss anything I publish here. But anyway, let's get back to our story, to Awarelia, to our 15 keywords. I told you that I'm going to tell you a little bit more about them. In today's episode, we delved into the mystical lands of Awarelia, exploring a narrative that weaves the fabric of consciousness through tales of insight, connection, and growth. Our journey is guided by 15 key words, each a beacon illuminating the essence of consciousness and its impact on our lives. First, consciousness itself. Not merely awareness, but an intricate dance of understanding one's thoughts and surroundings. It is the core of our narrative, a state of being that transcends mere existence to embrace a deeper connection with life. Then we have the word mystical. Mystical captures the enchanting realm of Awarelia, where wisdom whispers through the winds and insight sings in the rivers. It's a world where the mystical is not just fantasy, but a profound reality of everyday life. Then we have essence. The essence of life in Awarelia, and indeed of our story, centers on consciousness. It's about getting to the heart of what it means to be truly alive, aware, and interconnected with the universe. Then we have intricacies. Intricacies of the mind and the world around us are revealed beneath the tree of consciousness. It's where the complex, delicate threads of our thoughts and emotions are unraveled to discover the beauty and depth of existence. We then have enlightenment. Enlightenment is the journey toward understanding, growth, and self-awareness. It's the path that the sage Alaric and all seekers of truth in Awarelia tread. seeking to unlock the mysteries of consciousness. Then we have the word symphony. A symphony of connection is found in Orion's music, where consciousness resonates not just in melodies, but in the shared emotions and experiences of those who listen. It symbolizes the harmony of understanding that binds us together. And then we have empathy, taught by Alaric and experienced by all who dwell in Awarelia. And it is the ability to share and understand the feelings of others. It's a cornerstone of consciousness, enabling deeper connections and compassionate interactions. Then we have fragility and appreciation. Fragility and appreciation are lessons learned by Seraphina and her daughter, highlighting the delicate balance of nature and the value of nurturing a conscious awareness of the world's beauty and vulnerability. Then we have the word nurtured. Nurtured relationships, whether between individuals or with the world at large, are fundamental. They grow from a shared consciousness and appreciation, fostering connections that enrich and sustain us. We also have resonate. To resonate is to connect deeply, as Orion's violin does, bridging thoughts and feelings, illustrating how consciousness can create profound connections without words. Then we have weave. Weave describes how our stories and experiences intertwine under the tree of consciousness, crafting a rich tapestry of life that continues to grow and evolve with each passing moment. And then we have transcend, a quality embodied by the poet Lysander. It represents the journey beyond the physical and the mundane, reaching into the depths of consciousness to touch the divine. After that, we have acknowledge. Acknowledge is to recognize and embrace the myriad aspects of existence, from the grandeur of the horizon to the minute details of life, understanding their place in the tapestry of consciousness. And finally, there's horizon. Horizon represents the limitless possibilities and unending journey of consciousness, inviting us to explore, understand, and cherish the vastness of our existence and the world around us. Each of these key words opens a door to deeper understanding and appreciation of consciousness, setting the stage for our exploration into the mystical, the profound, and the infinitely beautiful journey of being truly aware. Now, I know you might be thinking by now that, yes, you told us about the 15 key words in a poetic way, which is exactly my intention, because in the next section, Unlock the Meaning, we're going to talk about these words in a more direct way, and we're going to talk about how we can use them in sentences, because that's part of the question we have in our Unlock the Meaning section that's coming next. We have 3 different types of hints that I give you before I reveal which word we're talking about. We have a riddle, we have the meaning of the word, and then, of course, to make it easier, I give you the first letter, and I give you an example, of course, without the word, and I will give you some time to guess the word yourself. My advice to you is to really pause the episode when I give you some time and try to figure out the word yourself. Actually, you know the word. I just gave you the list of words, but the point is to remember it yourself, to figure it out yourself. This way, you will remember the word for a very, very long time. If you want to interact with me while you're listening to the episode. But by all means, if you just want to enjoy, so sit back and relax, and I will reveal all the answers to you after I give you a couple of seconds. So are you ready for that? Because that's coming next. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Now let's start with our very first keyword, and let's start with our very first hint, which is a riddle. I am the stage where thoughts parade, the light that shows the world displayed. Awake or dreaming, you are inside me. I am the state where minds are free. Which word am I? Maybe that was enough, maybe not, so I'll give you a second hint. This word is the bright light of awareness that lets you experience life. It's the you that's listening to this right now, the observer behind your thoughts and feelings. Have you guessed it yet? Maybe not, maybe yes, but it's a 13-letter word and it starts with C. And we can use it in sentences like, meditation can help in raising one's, this word. Which word are we talking about? Think about it, and I'll be right back. Now, for those of you who guessed that we're talking about consciousness, you're absolutely right. The word or the key word here is consciousness, the state of being aware of one's thoughts and surroundings. That's consciousness. Now let's move on to our next key word. Let's start with the riddle. Beyond the touch and sight of man, I dwell where few but seekers can. A realm that's steeped in secret lore, where truths revealed like never before. Which word am I? Maybe you're not that good at riddles, so I will give you another hint. When something is so deeply spiritual or mysterious that it seems to belong to another world, it carries this quality. It's the space where the ordinary meets the extraordinary. It's an 8-letter word and it starts with M. And we can use it in examples like the ancient texts describe the word experience of union with the divine. So which word are we talking about? Think about it and I'll be right back. Now, for those of you who guessed that we're talking about the word mystical, mystical, you're absolutely right. Our key word here is mystical, which means relating to magical or spiritual experiences beyond the ordinary world. And now let's move on to our third key word for today. So we still have a lot, don't go anywhere. Anyway, let's start with the riddle. I am the heart, the soul, the core, the part of things you can't ignore. I'm what's left when all is stripped away, the truth that's sure to stay. Which word am I? Are you there yet? Maybe not. This word is the core, the heart of something. Its true and most basic nature. If something were a fruit, this would be its sweet and juicy center. It's a 7-letter word and it starts with E. And we can use it in a sentence like, the sentence of her argument was that society must be more equitable. So which word are we talking about? Think about it, take a few moments, and I'll be right back. Now, for those of you who guessed the word we're talking about is essence, you're absolutely right. We're talking about essence, the fundamental nature or quality of something. Remember the sentence? The essence of her argument was that society must be more equitable. The essence of her argument. We can use it in this way. Now let's move on to the next key word. Now let me start with the riddle, of course. A web of lines, complex and grand. I am more detailed than the shifting sand. In every craft, art, or plan, I am the touch of a careful hand. Which word am I? Maybe you will need more. Okay, no problem. I'll give you another hint. These are the delicate, complex details that might escape a casual glance, but are essential to truly understanding something deeply and completely. It's an 11-letter word and it starts with I. We can use it in examples like the word, of the legal system can be baffling to a layperson. Which word are we talking about? Think about it and I'll be right back. Now, for those of you who guessed the word is intricacies, you're absolutely right. Of course, intricacies is the plural version, intricacy is one, but usually we use it in plural because we're talking about more than just one. We're talking about those complex details or aspects that are often interconnected. Those are the intricacies. And like we use it in the example, we said the intricacies of the legal system can be baffling to a layperson. So that was our fourth key word. Now let's move on to the fifth key word. And here, let me start with the riddle. In dark's despair, I am the dawn, the knowing path that leads you on. Arise above the earthly din, I'm clarity found from within. Which word am I? Not there yet? Let me give you another hint. Imagine a moment when all the clouds of confusion suddenly part, and a radiant clarity emerges. It's a profound understanding, a deep aha that changes everything. It's a 13-letter word and it starts with E. And we can use it with sentences like this. The monk dedicated his life to the path of this word. Which word are we talking about? Think about it and I'll be right back. Now, for those of you who guessed the word is enlightenment, you're absolutely right. Now let me spell this word out for you because it might be a little bit confusing. enlightenment. Enlightenment. A deep understanding or insight into the nature of things. Like in the example, we said the monk dedicated his life to the path of enlightenment. And now let's move on to the next key word, and let me start with the riddle. I am a river of melodies flowing, with harmonies rich and glowing, a dance of notes in time and tune. I'm the song that makes hearts swoon. Which word am I? Of course, you need more hints. I'll give you more hints. Picture not just a song, but a grand and harmonious blend of different instruments playing together, creating a rich and immersive sound that can move your soul. It's an 8-letter word and it starts with S. And now, of course, if I give you this example, you will know it right away. The word of Beethoven are celebrated for their emotional depth. Which word are we talking about? Think about it, and I'll be right back. Now, for those of you who guessed the word we're talking about here is symphony, you're absolutely right. A symphony is a harmonious combination of different elements or ideas. Now, of course, we use it in music, but we can use it in many other things as well. And here, of course, the example is about the symphonies of Beethoven are celebrated for their emotional depth. But of course, we can use it for many other things as well. So that was our word. Now let's move on to the next one. In your joy or in your sorrow, I'm the heart that seeks to borrow. Feeling deeply as you do, in me your pain and joy I pursue. Which word am I? It's when you can step into someone else's shoes, feel what they feel, and understand their world from the inside. It's more than sympathy, it's connection. It's a 7-letter word and it starts with E. And we can use it in a sentence like, she had the remarkable ability to show deep, this word for others' suffering. Which word are we talking about? Think about it, and I'll be right back. Now, for those of you who guessed the word is empathy, you're absolutely right. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. Like in this example, she had the remarkable ability to show deep empathy for others' suffering. And now let's move on to the next key word. Delicate as a whispered word, or the gentle wing of a fleeting bird. Handled with care when held by you, easy to break and hard to renew. Which word am I? Imagine something so delicate and tender that it could break or be harmed with the slightest touch. It's the exquisite vulnerability that reminds us to handle with care. It's a 9-letter word and it starts with F. And we can use it in sentences like, the word of the ecosystem is a pressing concern. So which word are we talking about? Think about it and I'll be right back. Now, for those of you who guessed the word we're talking about is fragility, you're absolutely right. Fragility means delicacy and vulnerability, often referring to things that are easily damaged. And we can use it in examples like I just told you about. The fragility of the ecosystem is a pressing concern. But that's not our last word. We still have a couple more, so stay tuned, stay with me, because we're going to move on to the riddle of the 9th keyword for today's episode. Like a seed in sun and rain, I'm cared for to ease all pain. With love and time, I'll surely grow. From tender acts, I'm set aglow. Which word am I? This is what happens when you're cared for and encouraged to grow, like a seedling that has been tenderly watered and has bloomed into a vibrant flower. It's an 8-letter word and it starts with N. And we can use it in sentences like, her talents were, the word, by her supportive teachers. So which word are we talking about? Think about it and I'll be right back. Now, for those of you who guessed we're talking about nurtured here, or nurture, of course, you're absolutely right. Nurture means to carefully and attentively develop or encourage. And this sentence I just gave you earlier, her talents were nurtured by her supportive teachers. And now let's move on to the next keyword. I am the echo that lingers on, a chord that plays in a lasting song. Deep within I make a call, the part of music that touches all. Which word am I? Think of a time when something stuck a chord deep within you, almost like a bell that's been struck. It's when something aligns perfectly with your feelings or beliefs. It's an 8-letter word and it starts with R. And we use it in sentences like, the speaker's words seem to, the word, with everyone in the audience. Which word are we talking about? Think about it, and I'll be right back. Now, for those of you who guessed we're talking about resonate, you're absolutely right. Resonate means to evoke a strong feeling, emotion, or response. Like in our example, the speaker's words seem to resonate with everyone in the audience. And now for the next key word, let's start as usual with a riddle. Through loom and thread, I tell a tale. With patience, artistry prevails. Like stories spun or fabric tight, I'm the act that brings things right. Which word am I? Imagine taking separate threads and interlacing them skillfully to create a fabric, or different stories and merging them into one compelling narrative. It's the act of creating something unified from diverse elements. It's a 5-letter word and it starts with W. And we can use it with sentences like, he learned how to, the word, traditional baskets from his grandmother. So which word are we talking about? Think about it, and I'll be right back. Now, for those of you who guessed we're talking about weave, you're absolutely right. To weave is to create or form by combining various elements. Like when we said, he learned how to weave traditional baskets from his grandmother. And now on to our next keyword, and as usual, let's start with a riddle. Above and beyond is where I soar. Past limits known, I am much more. I rise above the mundane plane. In me, a higher realm you gain. Which word am I? Picture rising above and beyond the ordinary limits, soaring to a higher level. It's going beyond the usual restrictions to reach something greater. It's a 9-letter word and it starts with T. And we use it in sentences like, art has the power to, this word, cultural and linguistic barriers. So which word are we talking about? Remember, it starts with T. Think about it, and I'll be right back. For those of you who guessed we're talking about transcend, you're absolutely right. And let me spell this out for you because it might be a little bit tricky. Transcend. This is the tricky part, the SC part. But anyway, our word is transcend and it means to go beyond or rise above a particular limit or concept. Like in our example, art has the power to transcend cultural and linguistic barriers. To go beyond, to rise above. That's the word. And now on to our next key word, and let's start with the riddle. I am the nod, the thanks, the praise, the recognition for your ways. Not tuned blind to deeds so grand, I'm the clapping of a single hand. Which word am I? It's the act of nodding respectfully to truth, giving credit where credit is due, and saying, I see you, to facts, feelings, or the rights of others. It's an 11-letter word and it starts with A. And we can use it in sentences like, it is important to, the word, the hard work and efforts of others. But which word are we talking about? Think about it, and I'll be right back. Now, for those of you who guessed we're talking about acknowledge, you're absolutely right. Acknowledge is to recognize or admit the existence or truth of something. Like in the example when we said, it's important to acknowledge the hard work and efforts of others. But before we move on to the next keyword, I guess that we should spell this word because also it might cause some problems in spelling. It's ACKNOWLEDGE. So here, acknowledge. The tricky part is usually the first part, ACK. But anyway, that was our word, and that's not the last word. We still have 2 more words before we call it a day. So stay tuned, stay with me, because I'm going to give you the riddle for the 14th word. Where sky and earth in love unite, I'm the line that bounds day and night. Always distant, but in sight clear, I'm where dreams appear so near. But which word am I? It's that beautiful line where the sky kisses the earth, a boundary that inspires wanderlust and represents endless possibilities. It's a 7-letter word and it starts with H. And we can use it in sentences like, she stared out to sea where the sun met the word. So which word are we talking about? Think about it and I'll be right back. Now, for those of you who guessed we're talking about the horizon, you're absolutely right. The horizon is the line at which the Earth's surface and the sky appear to meet. Well, obviously visually. But it's an interesting and a deep word that we can use in a lot of sentences, just like the one we said, she stared out to sea where the sun met the horizon. And now on to our very last key word for today's episode, and let me start with the last riddle for today. With gracious eyes, I see the worth in acts of kindness, love, and mirth. For what is given, big or small, I am the heartfelt thanks for all. Which word am I? Imagine savoring every bite of a delicious meal or every note of a beautiful song. It's the art of deeply valuing and being thankful for what is present in your life. It's a 12-letter word and it starts with A, and we can use it in sentences like, this word, for the small things in life was contagious. So which word are we talking about? Think about it and I'll be right back. Now, for those of you who guessed we're talking about appreciation, you're absolutely right. Appreciation, the recognition and enjoyment of the value or significance of something. And like in the example, his appreciation for the small things in life was contagious. So my friends, that was the last keyword for today's episode. Let me remind you quickly of the 15 keywords we talked about. We talked about consciousness, the state of being aware of one's thoughts and surroundings. We talked about mystical, relating to magical or spiritual experiences beyond the ordinary world. We talked about essence, the fundamental nature or quality of something. We talked about intricacies, complex details or aspects that are often interconnected. We talked about enlightenment, a deep understanding or insight into the nature of things. We talked about symphony, a harmonious combination of different elements or ideas. Empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. Fragility, delicacy and vulnerability, often referring to things that are easily damaged. We talked about nurtured, which means carefully and attentively developed or encouraged. We talked about resonate, which means to evoke a strong feeling, emotion, or response. Weave, to create or form by combining various elements. Transcend, to go beyond or rise above a particular limit or concept. Acknowledge, to recognize or admit the existence or truth of something. Horizon, the line at which the Earth's surface and the sky appear to meet. And finally, we talked about appreciation, which means the recognition and enjoyment of the value or significance of something. These are 15 rich words that you can add to your active vocabulary bank, and it's very easy to do that if you just follow the link that I will leave in the description of this episode, which will take you to my website, to the custom post I created for this episode, because you will not only find the show notes, which means all the important information that I talked about in this episode, you will find a lot of practice chances, and there's also something new I'm adding to my Vocabulary Voyages series that I used to add before to my Word Power episodes, and that is a PDF with some fun exercises you can download, print out, and enjoy doing at your own pace. These PDFs are super useful. The interactive exercises on the website, on this custom post I told you about, are super useful as well if you want to take it a step further. Take these 15 words you just learned today and add them to your active vocabulary bank, to your permanent active vocabulary bank. The only way to do that is by practicing a little bit more. And I got you covered. Everything you need is on my website. The link is in the description. As I told you, I'm not going to include a VIP section for those VIP words because I already have the Word Power brought back to English Plus. You can find a new episode every day discussing and talking about a very special word. For example, today's word was solitude, which is a beautiful word, but there are other words, a new word every day. So come back to listen to those episodes, those shorter episodes, of course, in which I just focus on one word and I talk about it in depth. But for now, it's time for us to say goodbye, but before I say goodbye, let me tell you, my friends, that you can help this podcast a lot by following and sharing it with your friends and family. If you like the podcast, share it with the people you love so they may also like it, they may also benefit from it, and of course by doing that I'll be reaching more people, so it's a win-win. And if you want to take it a step further, you can become an English Plus premium member on my Patreon page. The link is also in the description. By doing that, you'll be supporting me to continue creating the content you love, but that's not everything. You'll be getting exclusive content that I'm sharing only with my patrons, so don't miss out on that if you want to take it a step further and if you want to support what I'm doing. With that being said, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed our journey into the mystical lands of Awarelia and into consciousness and all these words that we talked about. Don't forget that we have a new Vocabulary Voyages episode every week, but that's not the only episode there is in our podcast. We have a lot of other episodes. We have our new edition today that just started today, Real Conversations. That's something that you're going to enjoy if you want to learn how to speak in different situations. We have our word power episodes where I focus on one word and I explore it in depth. And we have, of course, our Did You Know episodes, daily episodes as well. We talk about a variety of topics that are interesting and useful to everyone. With that being said, I would like to thank you very much for your time. This is your host, Danny, signing off. I will see you next time.